You may have noticed of late that there seem to be a lot of raids, and some would say successful in finding drugs and firearms, a lot of police raids on gangs and gang associates, and it would seem that gang activity is coming under the spotlight. The most recent series of raids, which I think resulted in 26 to 28 arrests on a variety of organised crime and methamphetamine charges, occurred in Ōpōtiki, a small New Zealand settlement that has been plagued by crime, drug use, illicit drug use, and criminal activity by gangs. But when I was at the Prime Minister's press conference on Monday, a bevy of questions were fielded to the Prime Minister, suggesting that during the latest raids, tamariki, or children, as we call them in English, some children living with at addresses which were raided by police as part of operations in Ōpōtiki. And the impression was created by the questions that they had been left, 3-year-olds, preschool kids, had been left completely on their own in houses while their caregivers were hauled off in the paddy wagon to the police station. That was certainly the nature of the questions that the Prime Minister received, and I must say he didn't look like he had been briefed on this, but he said, oh gosh, if that's happened, it's been terrible. I have seen since a plethora of stories, that means many stories, suggesting that terrible things happened during these police raids and people had got strip searched, which I can't be that concerned about people being strip searched if you're part of a police raid. It could be bad. The local sort of iwi support group has suggested it would have been so much more helpful if the police had given some warning of the raids to local Māori. I'm not sure. I've never been an operational police officer, but I would just say that would perhaps lessen the effectiveness of a police raid. Well, joining us to find out and to respond to what has happened is the Police Minister, Mark Mitchell. Minister, thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. Welcome to the platform.
You're welcome, Sean, no problem.
All right, look, the nature of the questions that were being thrown at the Prime Minister on Monday had this at the level of those Urawera raids.
No, absolutely not. But, but you come to the conclusion that maybe some people that are very vocal out there are trying to create that impression. It's absolutely not the case at all. If the Prime Minister was not, none of us were aware that that question was coming forward or that issue was coming forward. I very quickly went away and checked the authenticity of it, and I had received complete assurance from police that no children had been left behind in houses. All right,
on their own. So they were always had a custodial care, even if that was a police officer?
Police don't operate like that. Police, if there's children there, they always take great care to make sure that the children are cared for, looked after, and that they actually have somewhere to go, or a relative or a family member that that can come and take over.
Sometimes is it a police officer, sometimes is it a rangatamariki?
Well, sometimes it'll be family. It depends on what the situation is. Sometimes if there is no family available, then sorry about the noise, mate. We've got major work going on in this building at the moment.
All right.
And sometimes it'll be another government agency that needs to step in and take over.
But you can give us an assurance that no tamariki, that's Māori for children, were left to their own devices after those police raids through Ōpōtiki.
Yes, I sought assurance from police and I received that assurance.
Okay. Where then are all these accusations coming from? Are these people lying?
Well, all I can say is that I was over in Ōpōtiki 3 or 4 days ago. I met with all the iwi leaders over there and the local iwi, and they're very supportive. They don't want to see their children, their tamariki, in gangs and growing up in their intergenerational harm around firearms violence, sexual violence, drugs. So they're very motivated to see a change. They see this as a big opportunity to be able to affect that change.
All right. What about those who are saying, I was strip searched, this is traumatic for my children? I'm going to be honest, I think the person in the street says it's probably more traumatic for children growing up in a house full of gang members with people who deal drugs.
Well, that's the whole point. It is a lot more traumatic for children when they're living day in, day out, like growing up in a gang house with drugs, firearms, weapons, violence. That's far more traumatic and will have a far more lasting effect than police officers trying to keep the rest of the community safe, enforcing the laws that we have in this country, and, by the way, giving these gang members an opportunity to leave the gang and rejoin society in a positive way.
All right. That was a pretty big operation in Ōpōtiki. Has it had, or do you believe it will have a measurable impact on crime in that community?
Well, it's had an immediate impact, and when I was in Ōpōtiki, I was talking to the mayor, one of the councillors. They're very, very pleased. They feel like it's given the community some air to breathe. These barbarians that moved in have been causing havoc in Ōpōtiki.
Now, barbarians, I just want to check, is that a description of them, or is that the name of the gang, the Mongrel Mob Barbarians?
That's the name of the gang, Mongrel Mob Barbarians, yeah.
Yeah.
So they feel like it's giving them some breathing space and the chance to do a reset.
Okay. I noticed in much of the media coverage too, Minister, gang patches are being seized. What do you do with them? Do you destroy them?
That's a good question. I'm not sure what I'd be guessing. I don't want to put you wrong. They seize them, they don't get them back. They probably are destroyed. They probably go through the same process that that any seized property goes through.
All right.
Other than the fact they're obviously not going to be sold to fill the coffers for prosecuting crime.
So you say the highly emotive claims being made in the Prime Ministerial press conference the other day were simply untrue?
The ones that have been brought forward to me, absolutely, and I would just encourage anyone that has got complaints and follow the proper process and go to the IPCA and lodge it where it can be investigated.